practice, we're going to look at one of the more familiar postures from the yoga canon that has had great influence from the restorative yoga practice, and that's a folded pigeon pose. Now, classically, pigeon pose is actually a heart opener. It's where we engage the muscles of the back. We don't fold forwards, we actually lift the heart skywards and draw the shoulders back. In this variation, which has been heavily influenced from the restorative practice, we actually fold forwards with a degree of support underneath the front of the body. Let me show you the setup to begin with. Most important components here are that we have enough elevation and support to the bolster where the body is resting onto. The bolster comes on top. Our usual considerations with the bolster: where the zip's going to lie, so where the zip is going to be placed, we want to place it down. Where the strap is going to lie, we want to place it away from the head. Make sure that there is a greater degree of support for the head and lesser so down towards the navel. Then the placement of the blanket. So the blanket is there to give comfort to the back leg. As we come into the folded pigeon pose, when you extend the leg backwards, or even coming into a half variation with the knee bent to the side, you're going to find that the knee is going to press down, in many cases quite harshly, into the mat. So the back blanket is there not to add height and support in that sense, it's to add comfort for the knee. Now for myself, I've done a large rectangular fold, but if you feel you want more cushioning and comfort and your blanket allows, then come towards our smaller rectangular fold, which we usually use as a support pillow. That's when you most commonly find this shape. I'm going to unravel it because for myself, the large rectangular fold works well enough for me. The second bolster, let me bring that into play. The second bolster could be substituted for a brick, particularly in the first instance. The value here is that the bolster adds support for the bum to rest onto. This means that the degree of stretch that is felt in the outer hip is much less. And that's important because when we get an excessive amount of stretch and resistance in the outer hip, the knee takes the brunt of it. We want to prop up the hip so that we have less force onto the knee. The second option is the variation I'm going to share with you today in more detail, and that's to use the entire bolster to prop up the hip, the entire thigh and the knee. That's important. So let me just climb onto it for a second. So it's important that the knee isn't hanging off the bolster, suspended in the air. That's going to put more pressure on the joint. We want the hip, the thigh, the knee all completely supported. And then that's going to allow us to extend the leg back. And as I extend the leg back, my knee is fully supported. It gives me greater opportunity to begin to make any adjustments to the lead leg, whether it's tucking the heel in or extending it out forwards. And then I can walk down and rest my chest and my head onto the bolster supports. Then cue to relax the shoulders, and then notice the stretch anywhere from the outer hip to the inner thigh of the lead leg. Again, this is one of the postures where we're going to feel more sensation than many of the others in the restorative canon. And that's great because that's going to be something that we can utilize within our personal practice so that we feel the sensation oscillate. So sometimes we feel a little more, something more to experience and to ground with, to be present with. And at other times we feel much less. And that reminds us of that sense of ease and how comforting and also desirable the sense of ease is. Let's have a few minutes just to experiment with propping up the hip with a brick, propping up the hip with a bolster, or propping up the entire leg with the bolster. And then when you're ready, let's practice together. So in the variation I'm going to share, I'm going to come into a half variation, meaning that I'm going to take the large rectangular fold and place it off as a means to balance my inner knee and also the ankle of my left leg. That means that as I bring my body forwards, I can find that degree of comfort, can you see here? So the inside of the left knee and the left ankle. Walking into the palms of the hands to come up onto the right knee, I bring the bolster in. And again, the variation I'm going to practice is to rest my right hip, my entire right thigh and the knee onto the bolster. Pause for a moment to feel fully supported. Make any adjustments that I feel are necessary with the right ankle. Trying to encourage the body to start to navigate towards the bolster slowly. I walk down to the palms of the hands. Lift the chin and the chest to try to lower down to the navel first, then the heart, and then I'm going to turn my chin to look towards the right. Once my left cheek rests onto the bolster, I relax. Firmly into the palms of the hands and slowly walk the hands backwards so you can start to lift the chest. Begin to glance and look over to your right, twisting the head as much as you feel is right for you. Twist and turn the chin to look to the left. And then let's go back to the right one more time. And then as you bring the chin back to the center, come up onto the fingertips, walk back far enough so that you can lift the chest nice and high. Let's begin to bring the left leg forward, press firmly into the hands to lower down from the bolster. We'll take the bolster over to the left-hand side. Keeping our body turned inward towards our bolster, so our focus is inwardly gazing too. Let's take the blanket over to the right hand side, and then first of all finding the cushioning from the inside of the right knee or the top of the right knee to rest the blanket onto, walking up to bring the bolster in, and then for myself the bum, the thigh and the knee comes onto the bolster. I pause for a moment. Take a breath in. And as I breathe out, I fold forwards, slowly lowering the body down to the bolster. I'm going to turn to look towards my left. I'm beginning to draw my awareness to the breath in the back of the body. Taking your time, stretch the fingertips open. As you walk the hands back, firmly press into each hand one at a time. Lift the shoulders nice and high. Come up onto the fingertips. Walk the hands back onto the lap. As we did before, turn the chin to look towards the right shoulder this time. Then the left shoulder. And back to the right shoulder. This time as you come back to center, roll the shoulders back so we feel a little looser here. Press firmly into the palms of the hands. Bring the right leg forwards. Let's take the blanket forwards too, so that when we press into the fingertips and lower the hips down, we can take our bolster to one side and we have plenty of space to close our practice. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you again soon.